Quantity values are used to describe the amount of ingredients used in recipes and meals. Quantities are also used in defining the serving size in recipes. Quantity values are treated as numeric values, even though they display as a text value. For example, the quantity 1/2 is a text representation of the numeric quantity 0.5. Displaying quantities as a text value makes for a more pleasing appearance when creating recipes. Reopen the quantity drop-down control. You can see that a lot of the quantities listed use the ampersand as well as fractions to represent their values. If a quantity value in the quantity column has the focus, and you click this button, the quantity form will open, and the quantity displayed will be the same quantity selected in the quantity column. This form will generally synchronize with whatever quantity you select here or over here. For example, I'll click in the serving size field. The form refreshed now displays the quantity 1. Once again, I'll click over here in the 2 field, and this form now displays 2. The quantity form will display the source or the person that created the quantity in the database. A check in the All See checkbox means that this quantity, the number 2 dar, is a public quality and can be used and seen by any user. Quantities are tracked by a text value here and a numeric value here. This dropdown would display all the quantities currently available. In this dropdown, they also show as a text value paired with a numeric value. The quantity value is currently filtered as indicated by this button. The record count says there's only 1 record. That's because the form is currently synchronized with the value 2. If I open the dropdown and select another quantity, the form is unfiltered, and now you can see that there's 140 quantities available in the list. This button is used to add a new quantity value. This button is used to edit or modify an existing value. You will only be able to edit a record if you are also the source for that record. This button, when available, is used to delete a quantity value. If the quantity is a public quantity, this button will not be available. Also, the synchronization
of the quantity form with selected quantities will only work if you're working in the Nutritional Data tab. If you work in the Ingredients List tab, the form will not synchronize with the selected quantity. I'll close with the stop sign finally. If the focus on the form is somewhere other than a quantity value, for example, I'll click in an ingredient value field, and I click this button, the quantity form will open, but it will display the first record in its list, that is to say it will not be synchronized with any quantity value.
Click this button to enter a new quantity value before clicking the button. Make sure that you put the focus in some other field other than an existing quantity on the form. Here, I'll click in the ingredient ID field against turnip. Click the button, enter the value in text that you want the quantity to represent for this example. I'm going to enter the quantity 130 1/2, so I'll type 130 space, ampersand, space, 1/2, enter key. Next, we need to set the numeric value. Click the button Edit. Highlight the existing 0 and type in 130.5. Enter key, confirm with the OK. Now, if we open the drop-down, navigate to the end, our new quantity 130 1/2, which is 130.5 dar, is in the list. I'll select it, and there it is. Because the current user is Bob. Bob is listed as the source, and the SLLC checkbox is not checked because it is not set as a public quantity. And because it's not public, the trash can is available. So this quantity could be deleted. By default, quantity values and their numeric values are locked down to prevent accidental change. I'll select this, you use the delete key, nothing happens. If you are the source and you need to edit these values, start by clicking the Edit button. Now you can make a change. Note that the button changed and it now says Lock. Once you've made any changes, be sure and lock the form up again. Click the trash can to delete a quantity value. You will only be able to delete a record if you are the source of that record. Also, if it's a public quantity, you will not be able to delete it. When you click the trash can, you'll get this warning. You need to be careful. If you have used this quantity in any recipe or meal records, and you delete the quantity, those records will be broken. If you're sure that you've never used this anywhere, say yes. You get a confirmation. Click OK. If we open the drop-down, navigate to the end. Our quantity 130 1/2 is no longer there. I'll navigate to the last meal in the database. Then I'm going to click in the new record field in the quantity column. Note that doing that, close the quantity form and open the quantity drop-down. To add a new quantity directly in the quantity field, just type it in. I'm going to re-add the quantity we just deleted, which was 130 space ampersand space 1/2. Enter key. We're asked if we want to add the value to the list. I'll say yes. What's the numeric value 130.5? Click OK. The cursor jumps to the ingredients field. We're ready to create a new ingredient. I'm just going to click on artichoke. Any will work. Read this message carefully. It's basically saying, do you want to create artichoke by the blank? That's because this is currently blank as a new ingredient. You can click yes, you can click no. If you click no, you're going to enter the existing artichoke, which was by the each, as it says here, and it says always choose no if adding a new quantity value. So I'll say no. What we've done is we've entered 130 1/2 artichokes as an example in this meal. And basically, in the process, we entered a new quantity value in the quantity field directly. With the quantity 130.5 selected here, I'll reopen the form. I'll unfilter it. Pull this down a little bit. I'll navigate back to that quantity. 130.5. Bob was the source, trash cans available. I'm now going to delete the quantity. I'll click the trash can. I get the warning. It's basically saying, be careful. If you've used it, you're going to mess up any records. We've used it right here. I'm going to say yes. Note this different warning. It's saying that relationships, say we're going to delete one record, and related records. The related records being the ingredient we use the quantity in. I'm still going to delete it by saying yes. It's been confirmed. The quantity is gone, but so is that ingredient in the meal here. Any place that quantity had been used would be deleted. If I reopen the quantity form, search the list. 130.5 is no longer there. You can also access the quantities form from the Manage Records menu. To open the form, click this button.